Hello everyone, it's been a while. If you've been here for a bit, you'll know that creative blocks and self-doubt are no strangers to this house, and I've been dealing with it for a very long time now, and I am actively trying to make a change. In this video, I'll talk very openly and vulnerably about the insecurities and fears surrounding this topic. I think it's not easy to be so vulnerable and to expose your insecurities, especially on the internet. Plus, you can see the evidence of my creativity on the internet and also on my profiles, no matter how much I doubt my creativity and my competence. So to top it all off, I'm also afraid that my concerns won't be taken seriously. But I think that's also because I don't seem to take myself seriously enough. But more on that later. At least I hope that this will make others who are struggling with similar problems feel less alone. For a long time now, my expectations of my personal work and art have been so high that it has really paralyzed me, and I procrastinate the one thing that brings me the most joy because I feel I can't do it justice anymore, and I'm actually doing the whole thing for myself first and foremost. And I know that nobody expects anything from me, which makes it all the more frustrating. And you guys, it's not that I lack evidence of my creative abilities. I can look at them every day, and yet I still worry, doubt, and ponder all the time. Recently, after a long time, I finally painted another small portrait. You can see the painting process in this video later on, by the way, but at the very beginning of the painting process, when it was still in the quote-unquote ugly stage, which you actually have to go through until the painting slowly comes together, I really seriously caught myself thinking that maybe the whole thing just really isn't for me. That maybe I should consciously stop painting, at least for a few years, so that I can free myself from all the stress and pressure and see if painting comes back to me naturally at some point, maybe. Of course, I also thought relatively quickly afterwards what complete nonsense that was, but this thought was seriously there for a short time because I was so frustrated, and I thought to myself that this couldn't actually be the case. I mean, what the hell? I have this painting here with me, which I painted about, I don't know, maybe a year ago, and it is also the predecessor of this big painting in the back. This one, I also have a separate video on painting this. And one of my best friend's birthday is coming up, and I thought that this painting is a very good match for her apartment, and it's also very much her taste. But there are a few things that bothered me every time I looked at this painting. So I think I'm going to do a few touch-ups here and there so that I can gift it to her as her birthday present. And I really think that she's going to love it. So I really can't wait to give it to her. Recently, a person who hasn't known me for long said to me that they could really tell from me and my presence that I was this artist and that it wants to get out there. And I wonder, what do others see that I don't? I'm currently looking for a new job, and the biggest question for me now is what a day-to-day job can look like that really suits me, and how I can manage to structure my life around creativity so that what I'm most passionate about is at the center of my life as much as possible, without it stressing me out and burning me out completely. In a perfect world where money and time don't matter, I would just paint all day without the pressure and responsibility of being self-employed. Of course, that's not realistic, and simply saying I will live from my art now certainly isn't either, but many wishes can be derived if you visualize this perfect world down to the smallest detail. And I recently spoke out aloud about how in this perfect world I would have a large, bright home studio in my apartment, The studio would have Tiffany stained glass windows, a checkerboard floor, second-hand furniture with character, lots of plants and 2 cats, and the space would be super well equipped with everything, and I could just do my thing for myself all day. When I visualized this and when I said it out loud, I really noticed how I felt myself light up inside. Among other things, it was also suggested to me that I could perhaps continue working as a communications designer so that I could accumulate enough money to be able to invest more in my art at some point. But there is something so reluctant inside of me at the thought, because I have always had to put my art on the back burner, and despite all my doubts and fears, I can really tell from what's fighting inside me that I am super passionate about it and really want to do it. The original painting I'm packing here is my first painting that went to the US. Figuring out the best way to ship it was a pain, but it's still so cool. And if you want to place an order within Germany, you can always do that via my shop website, hannastollenberg.com. And if you live outside of Germany, you can order through my Etsy. Sometimes I think that I'm simply keeping myself small through my fears around the topic. The irony is that I'm afraid of failing, but I think I'm also afraid of actually making it work and succeeding. For me, the question has also come up as to why my art has to be commercialized at all if I do it for myself first and foremost, as it is my thing. Firstly, from a practical point of view, the only way that I can dedicate my life mainly to making art is if the art is also sold. On the other hand, I also think it has to do with self-doubt. Deep down, I think there is a belief that it is presumptuous to call myself an artist. Who am I to say that? The difficult thing is that nobody comes along and gives you permission eventually. You just have to do it at some point. And I think there is a feeling that I am only an artist, and above all an artist to be taken seriously, when my art is also sold. The desire to make art that is not just for the draw, aka for it to be seen, is also accompanied by the fear of not being modest enough. An absolute dilemma, you can't do it right. And in general, it should ideally not matter to your own self-worth whether your art is sold or not, and what other people think of it. Above all, it is important to take yourself seriously. I tried to paint her some rings, and I really rarely paint jewelry because it's kind of hard and I'm not very used to it, and I had to cover them up again because I painted them too low. Maybe I'll try again later, but I'm very positively surprised about this nose piercing and the hair clips. I'm not quite sure if this is the right perspective, but I think it's fine, and I really kind of like how slightly annoyed and unbothered she looks. Okay, my eyes are getting a little bit tired by now, and since I'm already painting for a few hours, it's sunny outside, and I really try to leave the house more and go on walks more. I am going to go outside now and stare a little bit into the distance, and I think that later this afternoon I am going to continue painting the rest of the painting. We'll see, but I'm also trying to not put so much pressure on myself anymore to always say like, okay, I have to finish this today, even when I'm not on a deadline or something and I'm doing this for myself. Yeah, so trying to take it easy. All these insights are super important and necessary, but what to do with them? Unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that either. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. But as I said at the beginning, I hope it will open up the conversation and perhaps make you feel a little less alone if you are struggling with something similar. I also think it's important to keep reminding yourself that you're not actually creative once you've painted a great new painting or wrote a brilliant new text or novel, for example, whatever. We are creative beings. There is creativity in how we perceive the world around us, how we find solutions for things, how we design our environment, such as our personal space, or how we decorate and express ourselves. I also have to remind myself regularly that I have options for shaping my life. Yes, you always have to make compromises, set priorities, and make decisions, but you can ask yourself how you can create a framework so that you can put what you are passionate about at the center of your life as best as you can, or as much as possible. In concrete terms, for me, that would be the question of what a working day could look like for me that suits me and that doesn't rob me of the capacity and energy to make art. Do I still have to feel that my job has to fulfill me? Or can I see it as something and make peace with the fact that it just has to be good enough and finance what I actually want to do, art? We don't have to have everything perfectly figured out already. I always try to see the space between where I am right now and where I might or want to be one day as something exciting. Of course, that's easier said than done, but we can just keep trying. And aside from that, surround yourself with people who truly want to see you succeed.